Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I've got a super interesting conversation here ready for you all. We've got Jim Gallagher and Stuart Davey here from Oracle to talk about MySQL. And I am super excited to learn what's been happening in MySQL and no better people, really, to tell me. Jim, tell me, could you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, of course. Hi everyone, my name is Jim Gallagher. I work for Oracle. I'm the head of the MySQL channel, looking after all the partners in the UK, making sure they're all educated and they're confident with everything about MySQL. And I've been working doing Oracle and Sun Microsystems, for those who remember them, for over 20 years now. So all my history is all with them vendors, and I've been in the actual MySQL position for about 6 years as well. So a mixture of everything Oracle and everything MySQL. So lots and lots of experience with lots of big customers.
Huge experience. This year is super exciting as well, and we'll get into this in a few minutes. Stuart,
Okay, so I'm Stuart Davey. Again, as you can see, I'm not the youngest person in the world. I've been around a long time, and I've got a lot of experience across the board. So when I first left university, I was working in development, coding in firmware, software, C, assembler, all those good things. And then as I've moved on, I've worked for vendors in pre-sales capacities. I've also worked for systems integrators as an architect. So I've got a broad spectrum of experience. I've worked in private and public sector as well. We've worked with small startups all the way to being a lead architect on national infrastructure. Currently work as the main UK pre-sales technical resource for MySQL.
I gotta say, huge experience here on this call, and I'm honored to speak with you both. Tell me, MySQL. I'm super excited to hear what's been happening. Before we get into the news, can you offer the audience as to why they might consider MySQL from a start? And Jim, I'm going to start with you, and then we can get Stuart to jump in.
Okay. So MySQL it's the biggest database, biggest open source database in the market. Open source being the key word there. Open source is giving customers an awful lot of flexibility, freedom to make sure they don't get locked in with some of the other proprietary databases that are available. And we've got absolutely millions of customers, millions of downloads that are customers that are using this. If you'd asked me this question about why is MySQL, what is it, and why is it great a while ago, it would have been it's just a database, but it's really fast and it's really cheap and all of that. But these days, it's grown to be an awful lot more than that. It's now got a huge analytics capability, machine learning built in. It's designed for huge volumes of data using lake houses, and it's also available on multi-clouds. So all of a sudden, it's gone from being it's a database to it's something really strategic and important to our big customers.
Stuart, can I ask a bit of a left of field question? You don't know this is coming. What was driving that change to go from just a database to more than that?
So I think it's a number of things. So MySQL's always been at the sort of forefront of innovation. If you go back, we've been here 25, 30 years. So, we've worked with developers, we've worked with frameworks and so on. So that's why we've got this leadership position now. But, if you stand still, you don't stand still, you actually go back. So we could see the inadequacies in the product. For instance, MySQL it still is a great OLTP database, but complex, difficult queries was something we always struggled with. So bringing that Heatwave innovation in has allowed us to be a single database for OLTP and analytics. Now, as we were bringing that in, we were also sort of, we were on the edge of machine learning and so on. So we've actually brought a lot of machine learning within our database to make it go faster. And because we've got machine learning helping the efficiency of the database, we've also exposed it. So developers and engineers can actually leverage that machine learning so they can get greater business insights. We've tried to automate as much as we possibly can. So we democratize machine learning, we democratize analytics. It comes into the field of mere mortals rather than data scientists. So I think this is going to give us great impetus in the next 5-10 years, going forward even further, I would hope.
The lines are blurring from what I can see from the market. Things have changed so much in the last 5 years in terms of the data growth, the expectations, the speed, and those lines are blurring from open source to proprietary. Do you have any kind of anecdotes, war stories, successes, more so, of customers who have gone from proprietary to open source?
We have got huge customers who've gone to open source, who've gone to MySQL. And beforehand, some of them will have been with some of the proprietary options that have been available to them. And when we've done our big MySQL events, we've had some of the biggest customers in the UK stand up and do presentations for us. We're talking like BT, BBC, really Sky, really big customers. And we've got a lot of customers, rather than the proprietary move, it's been a lot of customers making the move from the community version. So a lot of big customers, huge customers, who you would never dream would be on a community version of MySQL, still are today. And there's been a number of instances recently where a couple of them have been found out, and when they've had a problem, a real big problem, and big major systems in the UK have gone down, they haven't had the support in place that they need, and that's been very, very costly for them.
Oh, so that was a huge driver to go from community edition to a more enterprise ready version.
Absolutely.
Okay. Which is fair. The community edition has its place, but if you're an enterprise with so many expectations on performance, transactions per second, and your business relies on it, then I think there's an expectation. It's like, yes, you do need the right solution and the right product to support that business.
Absolutely. And the Enterprise Edition does give you all of the support that you would need from the actual developers of MySQL. So if you've got a problem, you've got the developers of MySQL on hand to get you out of that problem you're in. But it also takes your database from being an open source community version to a fully enterprise class database with all of the features all built in around security, monitoring, backup, auditing, authentication, all the things you need if you are going to take your database seriously and be an enterprise class customer.
Okay. So those mission critical applications can rely on that particular database flavor.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Stuart, I know you must have some war stories in terms of successes. I'm actually interested in the failures because that's where people learn the most. But let's say a success.
So well, okay, failures or success, we can handle both. So I think one of the main drivers when you go from, say, a proprietary database to MySQL is you want to save money. Okay, so MySQL is magnitudes cheaper than proprietary databases as a general rule. So that's where people see the manifestation of success in many ways when they migrate to us. It's the amount you can save. Okay, if you're migrating from an existing database, that if your first year you might not see much in the way of savings, but a database isn't just for Christmas. It's there for 5-10 years, and over that 5 or 10 years, we have customers who have literally saved hundreds of thousands of pounds. So that's where we focus on the success.
I gotta say, the two of you guys have missed one really key point here.
Okay.
Yes.
So what I've seen in the past is customers might choose a new database, and they may struggle to get technical resources to support that database. So even though the application comes with the database, etc., performance issues happen, and so they don't have the technical resource to support the new database. And for MySQL, MySQL's been around a long, long time. And the technical resources are there for everyone to use for those performance.
Absolutely, and you're dead right there, Mike. It's something that people should consider about. MySQL's taught in universities, so there's always a good body of DBAs out there who can actually work with MySQL. MySQL is essentially
Yeah.
a pretty much standard RDBMS. So if you are an Oracle DBA, it's a week, 2 week conversion course to MySQL. Same for SQL Server as well. So it's very easy to actually transfer your existing skills into MySQL. And again, if you're a partner, you can work with someone like Jim, who can actually put you on boot camps to accelerate that learning at the same time. So yes, it's very true to say that MySQL is quite a universal database. We're a favourite of students because of that community edition. The fact that universities can use it free of charge means they educate their students in MySQL.
I've just recently finished commissioning a piece of study about cloud adoption and modernization. So we were talking earlier about technical debt. So going from technical debt into a modern system. Repatriation is massive right now for anyone that has a mature cloud adoption strategy. So they're further along than other companies. The CIO 5 years ago saying everything must go to the cloud. That's kind of coming back to bite a few people. So repatriation is pretty high. Can you
Yeah.
help me understand where MySQL might fit into that?
Yeah, so it's right in the heart of it. So the cloud options have only been available for is it 3 or 4 years now, where we first brought cloud out, and it's really grown hugely, and we are starting to see a big sway of customers making that transition over to the cloud. But as you say, an awful lot of them, for most, not most, every customer I've got actually wants a mixture of on-prem and cloud.
Yeah.
No one wants just one or just the other. It's very rare that you come across that. So customers, what they do is they'll look at their estate, they'll work out which applications they believe do need the flexibility, scalability to just grow and not grow, or bring it back down to size whenever they need in the cloud. And sometimes they'll actually make the decision to bring it back on-prem. So they're always trying to work out what is the best environment for each particular application that they've got. But if ever they change their mind, it's always available because it's the same binaries that are getting used both on-prem and in the cloud. So they can bring it back on-prem whenever they want to.
Yeah, yeah,
As
and
I
I
say,
think that's really key. There is it's you need to assess the workload. Where is your data? Where is the application? And you need to assess each workload as to should it be on-prem, should it be in the cloud. It's not everything goes to the cloud.
correct.
No, Stuart, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's right. So yeah, clearly to this end, you've got data sovereignty. So that's one of the things traditionally that people would use to keep data to have an on-premise location, because they've got to keep their data within the jurisdiction of the country where it's being collected. So you've always got that. That's perhaps in some ways is becoming a bit more blurred now, because with Oracle Cloud you've got the EU sovereign cloud, which overcomes that issue. But there will still be cases where you need to keep your data on premise, and I'm thinking where you've got extreme SLAs. So extreme SLAs in availability. I don't think any cloud vendor offers anything more than 99.99% availability SLAs. If you've got SLAs, like one of my customers as a 6 nines SLA, they've got to go on premise. There's no way they can meet that SLA because they're dependent on a cloud vendor. 6 nines, yes. National infrastructure in the UK. They actually presented for us at the MySQL Day. So this is to do with smart meters and so on. Then there's one other thing where I think a lot of people have been caught out in the cloud. And this doesn't really apply to the Oracle Cloud, but it's cost control. Everybody starts throwing resources into the cloud, creating new VMs and so on, and it's very hard to keep track of those costs. But in Oracle Cloud, what we actually have is this logical construct called a compartment, Now, what you can actually do there is put whole projects into a single compartment, and you can actually refine those projects into development environments, pre-production, production environments, as you would do traditionally, and you can actually manage the costs of those individual compartments. So you can start budgeting, particularly for a project, and you can cap how much you want to spend in those compartments too. So it gives you much greater cost control. But that is also been a reason why people have moved back from the cloud when they've been on Azure or AWS, is that cost control.
I gotta say, we're gonna have a separate conversation about that project and OCI. One of the things that I talk about is cloud costs, storage, compute, network, data transfer. You know, those kind of four categories of they're your big spenders, and of those, it's storage and compute. And so maybe we should talk about that on a separate call. I'm going to ask you to come back for a different conversation on that one.
Okay.
Talking about cloud, there's a huge trend over the last couple of years. Jim, I'm not sure if you know it. Lake houses, data lake houses. I was talking to a friend or a colleague of mine, and we were joking about the idea of going from a data warehouse to a data lake to a data lake house. But it solves a heck of a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And I'm excited by what I'm hearing from the performance of MySQL Heatwave. Is there anything you could talk to me about that?
Yeah, so Heatwave has it's been getting an awful lot of headlines as to just how good it is, how strong the performance is. Larry Ellison himself, the big great man, every time he gets on the stage these days, he's talking about how fantastic MySQL Heatwave is. So it started off with the analytics, and the analytics alone, the performance figures we were getting, seriously was hundreds, even 1,000 times faster for certain queries for customers. So the performance levels are off the scale. That is now kept expanding by bringing in the Lakehouse option. So what you're finding is lots of customers today have got multi-cloud strategies. Okay, I'd say the majority have.
No, and they're right.
Together.
Yeah.
So we're now saying, okay, doesn't matter if your data is in Amazon or Azure or OCI or a combination of them all. We can actually now bring that data from them other places, drop it onto storage, and actually do analytics across all the data streams at the same time. So instead of customers having complete isolated silos of data and isolated analytics getting performed, we're analysing all of your data together. And that is bringing great benefit to them. And the performance we're getting doing that, by the way, is just as good as what we would do on-prem on OCI itself. So it's really bringing something together that a lot of customers probably aren't even aware of is available yet. And when they do, I think that's going to get a much bigger audience for us.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'd just like to jump in there.
That's the statistic I was hearing about performance. Go ahead.
So yeah, I'd just like to jump in if I could there. So the thing with Lakehouse currently is just to make it absolutely clear is we have MySQL Heatwave, which traditionally uses row-based data in a normal database. We can load that into Heatwave from our normal database tables. But the Lakehouse, what that actually gives us is the ability to load from files on disk. So what actually happens is if you've got CSV files, if you've got Avro files, if you've got Parquet files, if you've got things like dumps from Aurora or dumps from Redshift, we can actually take those files and load them into the in-memory nodes of Heatwave, and we can automatically infer a structure to them, a tabular structure to them, and then we can start analyzing those data tables just as you would if they came out of a normal database. So if you can think of feeds of CSV files hitting object storage, we can actually load those in and perform analytics on them. So there is, there's a huge amount of data out there that's not in databases, but it's just in flat files. We can start using that, making sense of it. And it's not just a case we can use it for analytics, we can use it for machine learning. As I said before, the way we automate our machine learning, we've effectively democratized it so developers, DPAs, can actually leverage it in their normal daily work, as it were.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I'm running out of time because I know you guys have to jump.
Mike, can I just ask you, by the way, just obviously you've asked us to get involved today and talk about MySQL, which thank you for doing that. Obviously,
Yeah.
you know, yourself and Quest, what was the reason? What's your main reasoning behind the attraction of MySQL for what you guys do? Can I just ask you that?
Jim, this is normally one way. I ask the questions. So yeah, well, that's a good question. I'll keep it brief because I know you need to jump. We people watching this may or may not know we've been supporting Oracle for a very very long time with the product Toad. We're big fans of Toad, and in fact, I can't wait for next year when we start talking about our Gen AI capabilities that we're inserting into Toad. That speaks to productivity, which has always been in our DNA, the DBA productivity. That's super exciting. Some of those use cases that I've seen. But outside of Oracle, we also support MySQL, and not many organizations might know that. So we have had that IDE for MySQL for a good number of years. I'm excited to say that soon we're going to have a brand new product, Toad Data Studio, and that's going to be multiple databases because organizations have diverse tech stacks today. So that's going to support relational databases, going from MySQL, Oracle, etc., etc. And I guess the other big solution that we have is, and again speaking to diverse tech stacks, is Foglight, and that's some might say observability solution, but it's a database diagnostics and monitoring solution with alerts and alarms and capacity management, etc., etc. Anything that a DBA might want to know is in Foglight, and that supports MySQL. So it supports multiple different databases within inside it. And I think all those products together speaks to those four capabilities that we talk about: is performance, availability, productivity, and change management. So that's where we come from with our products for DBAs working with databases. Hopefully that describes why we're interested in MySQL. It's because we've got a bunch of different products to support MySQL. Okay.
Yeah, great. Yeah, make it more enterprise class, more some of the features maybe we haven't got. Carry on, Stu.
But I think there's great value in that sort of notebook, that great value in that sort of notebook concept, especially if you can go across a number of databases, because you know it helps the developer because they're familiar with the interface regardless of the actual back-end database. So hopefully it will incorporate not just sort of SQL interfaces, but also the sort of machine learning as we go forward.
Thank you for that. I'm going to take a quick mental note, and I'm going to ask our product teams to make sure we include that as well. Just a final note for me is when we were looking at our product portfolio that we have. For me, what's super important is that diverse tech stacks, and I think you both understand that about that diverse tech stacks. That it's no longer one tech stack; it's diversity. And that's where that's our core DNA: productivity and diversity.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining. It's an absolute pleasure, and I'm going to have to ask you to come back and talk about the OCI piece of this conversation.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
Mike. Thanks.
Goodbye.
Cheers.